Hi everyone. In this short little walkthrough, I wanted to show you some alternative ways to animate the modal. So right now, if we click on the toggle modal, it drops down from the top, basically. But what we want to do is, first and foremost, I want to animate it in from the left or from the right, just to show you that it's possible. And then the big other way that is possible to show this is basically by fading it in from the initial position of the element. So basically like fading in, not showing and then fading in. So let's start by making it enter from the right, from the left. So I will start off by changing this to X, basically. And what this does is basically that it's right now it's somewhere right around here. Like if you just imagine the browser and imagine the area outside of the browser, then basically the modal is on the left of the browser right now. So we want to make it enter from the left. Also, I have to change this to W because it's the viewport width, basically. And by the way, the viewport width is basically a unit which is dynamic, and it's basically one unit corresponds to 100, like one out of 100 of the entire width, the entire browser width. So let me just enter the JavaScript file. I want to change this to X, like that, and then when we click on it again and want to close it, we will make sure that it goes back to the previous state, basically. So now, if I try to click on this button, you see that it enters from the left. It also goes back to the left. So this is how it works right now. If you want it to enter from the right, we can simply change it. It's almost the same thing. The only difference is that now I want to have it at 100 view W, which is at the right of the browser. And the problem is if I just try to save this right now, and then let me just try to change this entire thing. So we want it to be at 0, and then we want it to go back to 100. Now, if you look at this, you can see that we got this horizontal scroll bar, basically, and we don't want that. So this is the problem. You could change it. You could basically have like position absolute or something. But one easy way to just remove this is by adding overflow hidden to the body tag, even though it's something you should avoid, because this basically just hides a big problem on the website. But it's a quick way to just remove the scroll bar. So right now we can't see that part of the modal or that part of the browser, basically. So what I want to do now is I want to make sure that when we click on it, it enters from the right. So let me try this. Yeah, so it enters from the right and goes back. So these are the two ways you can basically make sure that the modal enters the browser. The big thing that I wanted to show you with this video is how to make sure that the modal fades in from its initial position. So we don't want to move it around on a page. We want it to just fade in from the center of the page. So in order to achieve that, first and foremost, what I want to do is I actually want to change, because right now, as you see, this whole thing is occupied by the modal. We can either make sure that it stays like that, or in many cases, you don't want the modal to take up or occupy any place of the browser. Basically, you want it to enter in when you click on a page, not that it actually occupies an area of the browser. So if we just try to inspect this, let me just like when it enters, yeah, right now obviously it doesn't take any place because it's like it's transformed away, so it's not currently on this position, but it still occupies some area of the browser, and I can show you by display none. Right now you see that this thing basically it went up, and the reason for that is that this modal actually occupies some area, so we don't want that. So what I can do is, if I try to no, not that. What I can do is I can basically change this modal to position fixed, and when I do that, obviously any element that is fixed or absolutely positioned, it automatically gets removed from the natural flow of the web page. So if I do this, position fixed, now you see that the modal no longer occupies any space of the page, which is a good sign actually. So right now I want to make sure that it's in the center of the page. So I can use the transform for that. Actually, I want to have top 50% and left 50%, and then I want to add translate both in the x and the y axis. So I want to have minus 50%, minus 50%. So right now it's in the middle basically. I can show you that by just give me a second. Yeah, so right now I think I have to I just have to figure out why it's like this. It's at the bottom actually right now. So basically the reason why this is happening, if we click on it, you see that it's right down here. It has to do with the JavaScript obviously, so I just want to comment this out for now, and then we'll change it. So right now, as you see, it's in the center of the page. So what I want to do is I want to animate a property in CSS, which is the opacity property. And opacity is basically transparency. So when it's at 1, the element is fully shown, so it's not transparent. But if I change it to 0, then it's no longer visible, it's transparent. So it's completely transparent. So if I have like 0.5, you see it's like partially, like 50% transparent. So it's almost showing, but not really. So what I want to do is I want to animate this property from being 0, obviously, because I don't want to show it initially. And when I click on the button, then I want it to show basically. First and foremost, I think, yeah, I have to use the z index as well, as you saw maybe, that right now I can't click on this. Why? The reason for it is that the modal is actually there. It's just that we cannot see it. So I have to use the z index, make it like a negative value, so that it's behind the page. So if I now go to the JavaScript, I just want to animate this. I will basically, what I will do with the modal is, first and foremost, when I click on it, I want it to be at z index 20. So I will change the z index first and foremost, if it's 20. And I also want to obviously change the opacity value to 1, so that it is fully visible basically. And then if I click on it again, or I click on the backdrop or on the close button, then I want to duplicate this and basically have it right here. I want to remove this line because I don't need it anymore. I don't need this anymore either. I want to basically reset it so that the z index as it's basically at a negative value, so that it's so that it is no longer in front of the button, but basically we just move it back so it's like behind or underneath the button. Also, I want to reset the opacity to 0. And this display block, it has to do with the backdrop, obviously, so we want to keep it. Also, we want to keep the variable, we want to use it because we need it for the functionality of the event listener. So right now, if I try to add this, if I try to click on this button, let's see if it works. Yeah, it works. So right now, you see that it works quite as we wanted. I can maybe add this to edit, maybe change the color to something else. So we see it fades in, and you can actually change the animation, so you can have like ease or ease in or ease out. So right. Basically that's how you make it fade in. So I hope that you found this helpful. If you have any other solutions to how to animate the modal, something that you've come up with yourself, or some solution that you find helpful, then just post it like in a code pen or something and share it. It would be awesome. So that's all for this time, and I'll see you in the next video.